My phone went off. That scared me. Oh my god. Guys, it's time for part number 3 of Day 9 daily number 489, where we learn to be a better gamer. God, I thought that phone was muted. Oh crap, I have to take my other eye drop. Okay, hold on. Bear with me. Oh my god. Excellent. I can see as blurry as ever. In part number 1, we watched a bonus game from TaeJa where we just saw some good decisions. And then we followed it up by noting, in this second game we're watching, that he's doing a lot of interesting early game aggressive maneuvers with his Marines, moving them out early on. And again, we find that these timings emerge by asking, can we perform an attack, or if we moved out right now, is there anything that could kill these units? Like truly just annihilate them. And we're seeing that we're hitting a lot of no's. And because of that, we might not be able to go up and kill his front, he might have spines or queens, but we can still use those Marines to stop his creep spread. And then in part 2, we saw in the mid-game these nice attack timings about the delayed layer from Shine allows TaeJa to advance out and to do these big pushes that, again, eliminate creep. And in all these attacks, there's the basic idea at this phase in the game that I want to kill off this expansion and this expansion for Zerg. I want to lock him back to 3 bases and make sure he doesn't take any more. And that's a very common theme that you'll see in any Terran vs. Zerg on Ohana, and actually on most maps, like on Antigua's Shipyard. You'll see a lot of this, keeping Zerg into 3 bases. But we can still clearly see that the Terran player is clearing out as many creep tumors as he can in every single attack circumstance. It's really, really cool. So let's actually hop back to the TaeJa cam so we can see some of the more interesting late-game decisions. After we see that TaeJa has kind of cleared everything out, he's going to make these little tiny pokes, but here's the big core that we're seeing out of TaeJa. He's doing some drops. Why are these drops reasonable? Because it's not a full medevac. There's no mutas on the map, it's only infestors, and as a matter of fact, in the last battle, I could have sworn he didn't have that many infestors. Look at those there. So this drop will help tell us. This helps us, again, in every drop, we can get a pretty reasonable conclusion as to how he's spending his gas. We saw ultras and infestors here, and we just saw ultras and infestors here. We can conclude that he's probably not investing yet in broodlords. Same concept that we talked about at the start of the game. We're just redoing here. TaeJa's getting some more scanny guys going on. Some more scanny guys going on. And an interesting choice is, does Terran expand here, or does Terran expand here for a 4th? This is a much more, I guess I'd say there's more possibilities for TaeJa because he drilled this huge 3-base army so much. I like this one better because by going down to attack this base, we're in essence defending this top left place. But look at TaeJa just literally defending. Literally just chill and defending. I will again note that if the creep spread from Shine was really good, a counterattack army could have swept up and killed this base with all this stuff being sieged up here. But because there is no creep spread, TaeJa's pretty much comfortable. Also, he just continues to scan to see if there's opportunities. I think a lot of people are also noticing that there's been absolutely no tech shift, with the exception of Marauders. There's been no Vikings, no Thors, no Ghosts, none of the other late-game type stuffs. Again, some small counterattacks are moving along this right side, but we have enough of a leeway with the lack of creep spread that we can just deal, or send some units to deal with it. A nice little clean push by TaeJa along this right side. Oftentimes here I'll throw a scan here. And just another basic thing that we saw out of TaeJa. Where is the medevac? Come on, hand. Alright, I totally whiffed it, but we'll just try one more time. Coming to the TaeJa cam. Coming to the TaeJa cam. This little guy. From a Spire being done to Broodlords being done is about 2 minutes. It's a little more than 2 minutes, actually. So in other words, it's 100 seconds to build a Greater Spire, and then it's about 40 seconds for the Corruptor dudes to turn into Broodlords. So that means in about 2.5-ish minutes, those Broodlords will be out. You can just constantly note these little tiny times like this, like, oh yeah, it's about 2 minutes from there. So right now, what you can do is you can say, okay, it's been 2 minutes since that time. So that's when TaeJa starts his Viking production. He hasn't scouted anything, he hasn't seen Corruptors. He's just killing off this base, and now he's flooding Vikings.
Mineral field.
Kills off the expansion, completely pulls back, and I'm actually surprised, given everything we've seen out of TaeJa, that he didn't scan and kill off these two guys.
This better be good.
But he saw a huge counterattack, so I guess I can cut him some slack.
Our SCVs are under attack.
Use some help here. Ready to plunder.
Kind of some difficult positioning going on from TaeJa. Shine's just doing a really good job. Oh, that's what happens when this wall doesn't go all the way to that side. But I would say that for the remaining portion of the game, TaeJa just does some very nice, smart positioning, but he just set himself up so well. Look at the creep spread from Zerg. Look at this sad, pathetic extension of purple. He doesn't even have a big purple creep spread. That is embarrassing. And this is totally a creep spread measuring contest.
Ready to plunder.
Oh, I feel so clever. I've been spending most of the time talking about the positioning. I'm going to come back and just note some interesting things that happen with the buildings after this. Again, you'll see every Terran player on this map do this, and on other maps as well, but especially Ohana.
Is under attack.
Sending out little troops like this. Often you will not find a hatch here. And often you will not find units here. TaeJa finds a kind of a mismatch of both. No big deal. Notice the same themes that we're seeing here. Remember what we were saying in the mid-game? If I reveal my dropships first, it will make my attack stronger. These Marine, this Marine Marauder combo, even though it got totally mauled, Terran got to see that most of the Zerg units were right there, and so TaeJa immediately pops this way and does a little stop around to do a scan. A control play! It's a nice control play. Then darting up, killing it off, and look at how non-committal that was. Siege tanks didn't even move at any point. This is bad. Continuing to lose there. But whatever. Whatever. Pretty much everything TaeJa does is totally sweet. TaeJa doing these kinda careful repositioning things. It's so hard and easy to be caught out of position. Always want to be chilling close to dem expos. But again, hey, we saw a huge engagement here, and immediately rushes down to this bottom side. Shine, like a badass, has an appropriate amount of defense down at that bottom right, but in basically the final confrontation. Still pretty damn close. Kind of a hard-fought game. And now that TaeJa's actually taking this base, this is when it's like time as Terran to just not really do very much attacking at all anymore. You have two bases at opposite ends of the map, man. You gotta defend that shit. You gotta defend that. And honestly, for 4th and 5th bases as a Terran, you pretty much must think in terms of where am I attacking and is there an expansion behind that I'm defending. This attack is only reasonable because there is an expansion behind to defend. But now TaeJa's going to have to do one of these run left, run right sort of little thingaroos. Run left, run right, kind of spreading himself out. What's the only things that dart forward? A couple of Marines. This attack only works because there's an expansion behind it. And right now this expansion at the left is totally vulnerable. So TaeJa's kind of just re-rallying things properly and boom, boom! Alright, whoo, cool. I am going to, I'm going to pull back and do some of the talk about the interesting building-focused things that happened in this game. Just so, because I was focusing almost all on tactics that were happening at the front. So kind of a standard one. We just build out of the factory. I talked about this earlier, but I will yet again emphasize it. The common maneuver is when we're getting medevac, or when we're moving out with medevacs, we get these add-ons. TaeJa, you'll note, does this earlier by using the Hellions to control time while he's getting these add-ons. And of course, once you start the medevac production, that's also when you start the tank production. Speeding things up a bit. This is the period where I like to call it, like right when you're getting your medevac started and your tank started, I call this rounding off all the rest of your stuff. You just want to round off, or I guess round out. I use the word round, okay? This is when I want to round out the rest of my stuff. If I didn't have combat shield, that's when I get this. If I didn't have upgrades yet, that's when I get this. If I didn't have a third command center started, that's when I'd start this. In particular, right now is when, building-wise, I as TaeJa, I'm not going to add anything else on. And then, of course, once our money influx starts to go up, this is when very often yeah, again, rounding it out, just getting the armory up. This is when you'll see the flood of barracks. Flood of barracks, again, not a second factory. Very rare to see a second factory on this little formation. MVP does it sometimes. TaeJa does it here. Very rare to see this. Well, maybe not very rare, but rare enough for me to note it. Generally, you see these 3 barracks first, and then this factory go down. The fact that they're synced is fine, but once again, you see these 3 barracks come up, and then a factory, and then one more flood of barracks. And again, this is the moment where a lot of the time, a lot of the time, you would see the extra command center go down. QXC has been doing this a lot, and I like it, just doing another round of floods of dem units. But this 3, sometimes 2, but here 3 barracks. These 3 barracks that are added on after the 3rd are all reactor barracks, and I like this a lot. Because you see TaeJa just cramped as hell for gas. He's even having trouble starting his +2. Still some interesting things. Let's go to the TaeJa cam. Here's a transition that's very hard to notice, but TaeJa has actually begun to add on Marauders 1 at a time. He already has 2. He's done this quite early. He actually hasn't even seen a hive yet, but he's still doing it. I think this is cool. This is a nice way to help deal with the mid-game infestors, and also have some late-game way to deal with the what's-its-thingers, the Ultralists. Here's our reflood of barracks. Again, reflood after we get these big upgrades started. Mostly reactors, but again, just one more tech lab. Another kind of cool, interesting thing we see out of the buildings. And then these are just only Marauders all game long. Look at him, even queuing them up. Oh god, that's so newbie to queue. Goodness, TaeJa. I just called you a newbie. How appalling am I? God. Totally, what a terrible misstep. How embarrassing to queue. Ugh. Oh.
Somebody, get me out of this mess.
I'm speeding it up. Yeah, there's really nothing too noteworthy that happens for a long time. And this is one thing I think is quite cool about the way TaeJa's playing. He's literally being so aggressive that these command centers are the biggest deviation he does for a while. The only other notable one that I will advance forward to demonstrate, we were at 19 minutes, we just zoomed to 20. So that way we could see these. I think the extra starports go down here. Come on, times 8, come on. Alright, I'll show the APM nerds. Yeah, there it is. Around 23 minutes. This is about it. It's the only thing that we're really seeing. But other than that, straight and standard and true. True and straight as an arrow. That's been well done. I'm going to go ahead and take some questions. I like this game a lot because we spent almost the entire time just looking at different ways that TaeJa was going right, going left, doing all that thing. Let me log in, damn it. What? Marky, I can't log in. I can't log in, Marky. I'll take questions directly from the chat. Yeah. So I see this from Dark Prime 22 that says, as part of TaeJa's early aggression, why isn't Hellion Harass a big part of it? Or did he just want vision with the early Marine build? This is one of these kind of optical illusions that a lot of Terran players will do, where they'll get the Hellions up. That's the first thing they get up. And you'll see them do fancy things like run in and pick off drones, maybe even pick off a queen. But the primary goal of the Hellions are really to hold off creep spread. And that's one thing that I like about TaeJa, is that he first held off creep spread with the 2 racks, and then with the follow-up 8 Marines, and then with the Hellions. So the Hellions were actually a pretty integral component to that whole creep spread hold-off, and I like that a lot. But, I mean, really the honest truth is that there's just not that many windows for the Hellions to run by and do that much damage. TaeJa's really thinking long-term by trying to keep those Hellions alive. And of course, yeah, the 4GG style of suiciding them into the mineral line, I just don't like that much. I'm just not a fan. Let's see here. This is hard to read these long questions. Oh yeah, from Person Dude Guy, says, Day 9, the ghosts seem to have been slowly phased out of standard play, having been nerfed. It seems that most players favor Marauder and tank compositions to deal with infestors. What's your take? My take is, honestly, that ghosts are great, and in fact, if you're in a late game situation, like we're talking 5 base versus 5 base on Metropolis style, it's totally amazing to try to replace all your Marines with ghosts and have like 55 ghosts or something as your main army. Still works frickin' stupidly good. But the fact is that in almost all aspects of StarCraft 2, people are relying more on mobility than on brunt force. That's why we're seeing less Colossus in Protoss vs. Zerg and more Blink Stalkers. This is why we're seeing more barracks in the mid-game from Terrans against Protosses, and less Ghosts, Vikings, and upgrades. It's much more about just getting in good positions and getting more bases, which I'm really excited about. I love that sort of stuff. So yeah, I guess I would just say that it's all tied into the aggressive theme. If you're a super passive Terran, feel free to stick with Ghosts and you'll have a lot of good success, but I honestly like the aggressive styles a lot better. So Aaron J. Reeves says, Day 9, why didn't TaeJa use Ravens to deny the creep spread? The big reason is that building a Raven at any early point in the game causes a total screw up of everything else. I'll actually show it here in the timer. So I think that at 8 minutes, let's just look at it 2 minutes at a time, at snapshots. At 8 minutes, well, we don't even have the ability to get Ravens, so we will rely on scan. At 10 minutes, we again don't have the ability to get Ravens, so we would rely on scan. 12 minutes is really where this could be potentially up for consideration. So we're going to build these 2 medevacs now, but the reason we don't want to get a Raven now is, for one, we haven't started Combat Shield. Where else are we going to get another tech lab? Well, we could just straight build one on the starport here, which would take a little time. We have this one. Well, both of these are honestly going to be in use. We really need a 3rd tech lab right now at this stage in the game. And what we're going to see over the next 2 minutes is that our gas is going to start plummeting. Here's gas that just went into the combat shield. These 2 medevacs, we wouldn't be able to get them if we were building a Raven. We would have to stick with 2 instead of 4. We wouldn't be able to get this armory. We're even going to see that with the gas timing, we wouldn't be able to afford these upgrades. Look at how low the gas is. It's hard to just find a time to get it. And you might say, well, maybe I could sacrifice these tanks and go for it. But at the same time, 1 scan still clears off just about everything. And there's a 2nd scan to clear off everything else. And suddenly the use for a Raven to kill off creep is gone. We only needed these 2 scans. That's actually probably the biggest reason, is that you just don't. A Raven is this constant, perpetual, continued, on and on detector. But a lot of times you can just Scan, kill those. Scan, kill these. Done. And then the Zerg spreads, creeps slowly a little more, and then you're just like, bam, kill this, bam, kill that. Done again. One more question, because I think I'm in the mood to get some tamales. I really want some hot tamales. I love tamales so much. And I have to go to the airport at 10 p.m. One thing. Grandpa SC says, Day 9, it's easy to see how 2-Rex pressure leads to many aggressive moves, but what about when we go for command center first? How can you control creep in the same way? You can do a number of ways. You can do Hellion opening, and then transition into a Hellion Marine medevac push, very common nowadays. You can go for Hellion Banshee, very, very common nowadays. Anything that lets you walk forward while still safely walking back. I mean, the fact is, it's not the one play, it's the repeated attempts to just clear off everything. And in fact, what I would say to many of you Terran players out there is do your normal build, but every minute in the game, stop your replay and go, if I moved out right now, up to his creep line, could I pull all the way back safely? He might have slow lings, but I can deal with that. He has a lot of speed lings. Okay, this is not a safe time. Just do that every single minute in the game. I mean, you know, it honestly will take you like under 90 seconds to do your whole game. 1 minute. Yeah, I guess I'm fine. Okay, what about 5 minutes? At 6, at 7, at 8, at 9? Yeah, okay, cool. Easy peasy way to do it. I'm going to go out of town. There's no daily on Sunday, but on Monday will be the Terran vs. Protoss Heart of the Swarm battle report. I theoretically will be able to broadcast it live here, but if anything goes wrong technologically, it'll just be up on my YouTube. If you're ever confused as to where to watch the Terran vs. Protoss battle report for Heart of the Swarm, just go to day9.tv and I'll actually be posting the link right now. So I hope to see you there. And that's it. I'll be going to Gamescom, and that's where I'll be. If, again, you go to day9.tv, you'll see, hey, there it is. There's the mech one. Here's the Gamescom, Day 9 at Gamescom. There's Gamescom. And I'll be creating a new event right now. New event? Yeah. Guys, that's the end of the daily. I'm going to go create myself an event, and I hope you had a wonderful time watching, and go out and crush Zergs, beautiful Terrans.